DreAllDay.com.
You're now tuned in to the best show in show business, where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. This is the go-getter energy that moves you to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Putting all this together, you get the mindset, the method, the podcast known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. Today's topic is making the leap from good to great. Now, I touched on this in the previous episode of the podcast where we talked about selection versus development. The selection group, the people who are making the selections in life, they're looking for people who are already great, not people who are already good. Or they're looking for people who are good and they can help them get to great, but it's not going to take them years and years of development to get to great. They're looking for people who are already ready-made to go. So what if you're already ready-made to go, but what you're getting, the results that you're getting from being good just aren't as good as you thought they would be, or as great as you thought they would be, not as plentiful, or you feel kind of unfulfilled with the results that you've been getting. I heard Tony Robbins use the analogy that when you're terrible at what you do, you get no rewards, you get kicked out. When you're good at what you do, you get terrible rewards. When you're great, even excellent at what you do, your rewards are just good. The only way you get excellent, amazing rewards that are outsized 100x what everybody else gets is that you had to be outstanding. You got to stand out and be, I guess, top 1%, I guess we could say is the best analogy I'm thinking of in a moment, to get those amazing, amazing results in life. So how do you go from being really good to being amazing? I actually heard Seth Godin, another guy who I've mentioned on this podcast before. I mentioned his book, This Is Marketing, one of my favorite books episodes. And I mentioned Seth as just a resource. If you read his blog, he writes these short, pithy blog posts every single day. Same way this podcast comes out, but his are much shorter than what my podcast would be as we transcribe them, which we are doing in the game group membership. Seth actually blurbed my book, Work on Your Game. If you look at the cover, that's his blurb right there at the top in the small print. But he talks about this. He says there's no stable niche for being really good or even extremely good. You're either at that superstar level or you're at the average level with everybody else. He basically breaks it down to two levels completely. So how do you go from being at the average level with everybody else, even at the top of the average level, to being great and being amazing? I was reading about the NBA playoffs when I thought of this subject. Those two anecdotes I just gave you about Seth and Tony just came to me as I'm talking about this, but I thought of this topic specifically. And I was reading an article about the NBA playoffs where they said to go from being a terrible team, like a team that doesn't make the playoffs, to being a team that's good enough to make the playoffs, like from 0 to, let's say 0 to 60, that's easier than to go from a team that's making the playoffs to a team that's competing for a championship. As any of you follow basketball, you know that to make the playoffs is one thing, but to be a contender for the title is another thing. So while 16 teams make the playoffs, they're not 16 title contenders. The title contenders are usually down to somewhere between 3 and 5 teams, I would say, usually each year. The other teams are not really considered contenders. They're good, they may compete, but they're not really considered contenders. And that last percent, because that change from good to great, as we're using it, analogizing it here today, is smaller. That last 10% is much harder to achieve than the first 90%. All right, so one of you, let's say one of you athletes, or one of you, let's just use an athlete as an example first. If you're a basketball player and you've never played basketball before, but you want to learn, and I started training you, listen, I could create a whole lot of results with you if we work together every day for the next 90 days. I could create a whole lot of results. It would be like night and day. Somebody would see you and be like, damn, you've been really working on your game. What a great change has been made by you in the last 90 days. But let's say I took another one of you athletes who's already a professional. You're already playing at the pro level, and I worked with you for the next 90 days and someone looked at you, they may not even notice the difference in you over the next 90 days, even though we work together every single day, because the amount of potential you have for improving is so small compared to the amount of potential the person who's done nothing has for improving. So that last 10%, that's why the last 10% is way harder than the first 90%. So that's what we're talking about here today, is getting that last 10% in when you're already at a 90% level. So those of you who are somewhere below 90%, now I'm not specifically talking to you here today. You still got a lot of work to do to get to that 90% level, but once you do get there, you can just bookmark this episode so you can come back and listen to it so you can make this great leap from the good level to the great level. Point number one, today's topic once again is making the leap from good to great. Understand that you can hard work your way to good. And this is what I'm talking about. If I was to take one of you who's never played basketball before and I trained you every day for the next 90 days, if you work hard enough and you listen to what I'm saying and you show up every single day and you're disciplined, confident, and mentally tough, you will be good after 90 days. You'll be relatively good compared to who you were. You'll be very, very good. All right, because it's just a matter of hard work. To become good at what you do is just a matter of showing up every day and doing the work. The discipline to show up every single day that I talk about at the opening of this podcast. If you just do that, any of you here who's listening to this, I mean, some of you already know this. All right, if you show up every single day and you do your job and you listen and you have some semblance of a plan or strategy of what you're doing, and you listen to at least some people who know something more than you do, and you make little iterations at least now and then along the way in your work, you're probably pretty good at what you do, simply because you show up every day and you do the job. All right, most jobs, a competent, smart, intelligent person who listens will become good if they show up often enough. Right, everybody agree with that. And any of you who's done it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Understand that while you can hard work your way to good from 0 to 90, you cannot hard work your way from 90 to 100. I'm gonna say this one again because this is a very important point. You can hard work your way from 0 to 90. You cannot hard work your way from 90 to 100. So how do you get there then? Getting from 90 to 100, this good to great leap. And there's also a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins, which I haven't even read yet. So any of you who's read that book, great. Maybe I'll mention some things that he says in that book. I'm sure I will, even though I haven't read it. And if you haven't read that book, go get it. Maybe you read it before I do. Going from good to great is a qualitative change, ladies and gentlemen. Not a quantitative change, qualitative, meaning the way that you're doing things needs to change, not just how much of what you're doing. Quantitative just means do more, quantity. Just do more. If you're working out 30 minutes a day and I gave you a plan to work out for 90 minutes a day, you would see significant change unless you were already at that 90% level. If you're just at an okay level and you just triple the amount of time you're working and you have a little bit of strategy to follow from somebody who knows at least something more than you, you're gonna get a whole lot better. But the qualitative change to go from 90 to 100 is not about working harder. It's not about showing up earlier and staying later. So this is what I talk about when I've said many episodes back, people reach a certain level of success, or they win a trophy, or they become successful in their career. So they go speak to some young kids, or they're talking at a college, or they're just giving a little motivational talk about how they became successful. And everybody likes to bloviate about how hard they work. I worked harder than everybody else. Nothing different between me and anyone else out there. Only difference is I work harder than you. There are a bunch of people who are more talented than me, and I just outwork them. Listen, that's bullshit. I'm not saying that they didn't outwork those people. I'm not saying that they didn't show up early and stay late. I'm saying that the main difference between the great and the good is not the great work harder than the good. That is not the main difference, even though that may be a difference. That's not the main difference. Do you understand do you understand the contrast between the two things that I just said? For example, Kobe Bryant, when he was playing in the NBA, he was probably the hardest working player on the Los Angeles Lakers. But that was not the reason why Kobe was the best player on the team. That was not the main reason. If we could boil it down to one thing, most people, the average thinking individual, your favorite motivational speaker out there or no YouTube hype up person out there will probably tell you, and there's all these Kobe Bryant mindset motivation videos. And what do they show you in those mindset motivation videos, right? Of anybody. They show you this person working hard and hustling and showing up early and doing all these things and all these quotes and sayings from them about how they're just outworking everybody. And that's really what makes them go. Listen, that's bullshit. That is not the difference between good and great, people. If that was the difference between good and great, these videos on YouTube got millions of views. Why do we not have millions of great performers out there? Why? The information is right there in front of you, watching the video over and over again, not counting how many times somebody downloaded the shit and watched it on their phone. Why don't we have a whole bunch of people who are great if everyone knows that they just got to outwork the competition? Why? Can anybody answer that question? You can't answer that question because the information is inaccurate. Going from nothing to something, ladies and gentlemen, 0 to 90. Is a quantitative change. In other words, the more you practice, the better you get. Everyone understands that, right? I mean, if I say work on your game and you never even met me, you just heard work on your game. I don't even have to explain that to you. It wasn't me. Work on your practice, get better, train, listen, work hard, right? Everybody understands. I don't even have to explain it to you. You get it, right? 0 to 90 is practice. That's all it is. If you write every single day in your Google Docs or your Notes app or your WordPress, you'll become a damn good writer if you write every single day and you consider how you're writing. Maybe have some people read your writing, get some feedback on your writing. You read other people's writing so their skills can rub off on you by friction. Listen, if you do it every day, you'll become damn good. You do enough sales calls every day, you can become a pretty good closer of sales. That's a 0 to 90 skill. That's a quantitative change. The last 10% does not happen because you practice more or you worked harder. It requires a different quality of work, a different quality of thinking, a different quality of approach to what you're doing. I wrote an article at dreallday.com/insight. dreallday.com/insight. Anyone who's listening to this can read that article. Go read that article where I talk about the difference between outworking the competition and out-inciting the competition. Outworking yourself and out-inciting yourself. You can get to the 90 level. I'm gonna say this a lot of times today, in case you didn't know. You can get to the 90 level of damn near anything if you work hard enough and you have at least some instruction for somebody who knows more than you, which could change over time because you could, outwork one mentor and then you get a new mentor. Enough information, enough hard work, enough persistence, you can become very good at pretty much anything. The last 10% to become great at it, no, that's not hard work. It's a different mental game approach. There's an NBA player, a former NBA player by the name of Gilbert Arenas. Now, Gilbert doesn't play in the league anymore. He actually has a podcast of his own where for the most part, they talk basketball, and it's entertaining enough. Gilbert's an entertaining character, so even if I don't always agree with some of his insights, it's still an entertaining show just because he's an entertaining guy. But I'm bringing up Gilbert Arenas to tell you that there was a time in the NBA, some of you remember, if you've been watching the game long enough, Gilbert was averaging damn near 30 points a game in the NBA. He was an all-star. He was a superstar player. This guy, every single night, you wanted to see what he did. You were looking at the highlights if you didn't watch the game just to see what Gilbert Arenas did. Who did he cross over? Who did he score on? How many points did he have? This guy was really, really good, really on fire, made $100 million playing basketball in the NBA. He was very, very good, and he was great during a certain period. I'm using that word good. I'm not even thinking. He was great during a certain period of his NBA career. And those of you who watch know what I'm talking about. And one of the things that Gilbert said once, this is in the midst of his prime, when he was averaging 30, he once scored 60 points on Kobe Bryant. All you know Kobe, if you don't know Gilbert, he gave Kobe 60 on Kobe's home floor. And you can go look that up on YouTube. The video's up there. Gilbert once said that the difference between the all-star players and the superstar players is not skills. It's not hard work. It's not how early you come to practice. The difference between the all-star and the superstar is confidence. The mindset at which you approach the game, with which you approach the game. And this is Gilbert Arenas talking. He said, look, I got players on my team. There are players on his team. He would say, look, this guy, and he would mention some guy who comes off the bench for his team. He was on the Washington Wizards at the time when he was in his prime. He said, I got teammates who come off the bench who can do everything that an all-star who's playing for some other team can do. They can do all the same things the other guy can do. The only difference between this guy who's coming off the bench from my team and the guy who's an all-star and the best player on another team is the mental approach that each guy has to the game. The all-star has a completely different mental approach than the guy who's coming off the bench and most of the fans don't even know his name. Mental approach, people. And again, this is coming from a guy who was at that level. So he was speaking from his own experience. Now, he's a guy, the thing about Gilbert, the difference between a guy like Gilbert and a lot of your quote unquote success story individuals, if you were to ask them this exact same question, like what was the difference between when you were merely good at what you did and great at what you did, many of your favorite success story people will tell you, I just outworked everybody. Not because they're trying to fool you or because they're trying to trick you, because not everybody has the ability to explain what they do. Some people can do things really well, but they cannot explain them. And that, again, I've said many times, it is a skill to explain how you do what you do. Just because somebody can do something does not mean they are qualified to teach it and that's how, think about it. How many trainers out there or authors or consultants or coaches are training people to do stuff that they have never done themselves? How many basketball coaches were not really great players, but they became amazing coaches? How many great business owners Well, I guess we can't use business owner as an example, but how many, we could kind of use business owner. You could be a great business owner and train employees to be amazing, but you've never been an employee yourself. You just went straight into owning a business. You don't have to do the thing so great in order to teach the thing. And oftentimes people who do the thing, when they're criticized by other people, they like to use the shield of, well, the person criticizing me never actually did the thing, so they're not qualified to criticize me. But that's not true. Because oftentimes the people who do the thing are so good at doing the thing, they never bother to develop the skill of explaining it and teaching it. I hear Kevin Durant's the first guy that comes to mind when I think of this. He would be on Bill Simmons, one of my favorite podcasters. He would come on Bill's podcast, and anytime Bill would bring up, hey, this is some of the criticism that people bring about you. And Kevin Durant eventually, in a sarcastic, tongue-in-cheek, but a halfway serious type of way, he would say, well, these guys, you know, all they do is blog. They never played the game. They never played in the NBA, never played at the level that I play at, so they're not qualified to criticize me. But Kevin Durant was completely incorrect with that, because not everybody who plays basketball is good at talking about basketball. Not everybody who talks about basketball is good at playing basketball. It is a rare occasion you get somebody who's both. I'm telling you all of that to tell you this. Gilbert Arenas is a guy who can explain what he did a little bit better than most people can. Even better than, I would say even better than somebody like Kobe. Kobe could explain to you how to do the work, but I don't think Kobe could really explain the difference between the good and the great. And I've read some stuff that Kobe's written. I've listened to some things that Kobe has said, and I was underwhelmed. And that's not a diss to Kobe, but Kobe was amazing at playing basketball. Again, when you put all that investment into one thing, I don't need you to be great at a whole bunch of other things. That's a whole different subject. Point number 2. Today's topic is the leap from good to great. Understand that for you to go from good to great, from 90 to 100, that last 10%, some of your sacred cows must be sacrificed. You know what I mean when I say sacred cows? Sacred cows are those ideas, practices, habits, maybe even people of yours that you hold so close to your heart that you would never give them up. You would never swap them out. You would never stop doing them. You would never say, you know what, it's time for me to part ways with this right here. Those are the sacred cows, the things that you're like, no matter what happens, I'm always gonna do this thing, because you have just habitually drilled it into your mind that you have to be doing that thing. In order for you to go from good to great, you're gonna have to push some of those sacred cows over the cliff, right? You're gonna have to sacrifice some goats. You understand what I'm saying here? I was talking to a business owner by the name of Josh a couple years ago. I remember I was sitting with him and his wife in South Beach, and he was explaining to me, he was lamenting to me that he was swamped with work. Even though his business was going well, he was making money, things are going good, he was signing new clients, but he was, I wouldn't say miserable, but he was bordering. He was on the borderline, right? Because the problem was he was always working. He was like, yo, I'm here on, he didn't live in Miami. He was like, yo, Dre, I'm here on fucking vacation, but I still gotta answer these emails. I still got calls coming in. I'm always swamped with work, even though I'm making money in my business. So I asked Josh, I said, Josh, what do you most enjoy doing about your job? Like, why'd you start this business? If you were only doing one job in your business, what would you be doing? First I asked him, what do you enjoy most about the job? What do you like most about the business that you run? And Josh said the same thing that many entrepreneurs say. What did he say, entrepreneurs? You're listening. He said everything. I like everything about my business. He said, you know, I like doing the payroll. I like invoicing. I like responding and writing back to emails. I like reading emails from customers. I like doing the creative direction. And I said to Josh, okay, Josh, great. You like to do everything. I said, if you could do only one thing in your job, you were banned from doing everything else, but there was only one role you were allowed to fulfill and everything else had to be delegated to other people, what would you do? Would you do payroll? And he and his wife just started laughing. He said, no, I wouldn't do payroll. He said, no, I would do the creative direction in my business. So I explained to him, listen, those other sacred cows that you quote unquote love, like payroll and invoicing and email and this back and forth with prospects who might only be suspects, you need to let somebody else do that stuff. You need to delegate that work to somebody else so you can focus on doing the thing that you do best. Because if you're not doing the thing that you do best, you are hampering your business. You're costing your business money because you're not doing the main thing, because your attention is being diverted by all these other things. Here, when I'm talking to entrepreneurs, is where the objections come in. And entrepreneurs say things like, well, I can't afford to hire anybody else. I don't want to take the time to train someone if I delegate a task. I have a hard time trusting other people to do the job the right way if I give them one of these roles that I've been fulfilling. It's much easier for me to do it myself than to hand it off to somebody else because I got to put the time in to teach them. I've been looking for people to delegate to, Dre, but I can't find good people. All of these excuses, and they are excuses, they are not objections, they are excuses. These are your sacred cows. I want to do everything myself. I can't afford it. I don't want to train somebody else. I don't want to trust anybody else. It's easier to just do it on my own. I can't find anybody to help me. And listen, I'm not just talking to entrepreneurs. Some of you who are not entrepreneurs have used those exact words. I want to let you know something. Those are your sacred cows. And if you want to go from good to great, all those cows, their throats must be slit. And I know that's kind of graphic. Any of you have ever seen one of those documentaries about the food industry in America? Even if you don't live in America, watch one of those documentaries about the food industry. Any of you who is a vegan or vegetarian, I'm sure you've seen the documentary and it has strengthened your resolve to stay vegan or vegetarian. I'm vegan, by the way, in case you didn't know. And any of you who is not, you eat meat, I suggest you watch one of those documentaries, not because it's going to scare you straight into becoming a vegan or vegetarian. It's not even a topic here today, but you need to know what's going on with the stuff that you're putting in your body. I think that only makes sense. And I'm bringing that up to tell you this. You'll get to see one of those cows' throats get slit. You know, the cow that became the hamburger that you ate for lunch today? You'll get to see one of those throats get slit. And I want you to understand, for you to go from good to great, you're gonna have to take some of your cows that you own, that you raised on your farm, and you fed, and you pet every day, and you got milk from, and you need to slit its throat and turn it into a hamburger. If you're not willing to do that, then you're not willing to go from good to great. That's a damn good analogy, right? That was good. I need to take this clip out and put it on Instagram. That was really good right there. So this is what happens when you do it every day. But anyway, those sacred cows gotta be killed, people. Now, if you don't kill those cows, you're gonna be working on that same farm forever. For example, an athlete, you tell an athlete, all right, if you wanna get in better shape, then you need to stop eating these foods and start eating these foods. You need to cut these things out of your diet and put these things in your diet. You may need to go plant-based. You may need to hire yourself a trainer and pay the trainer the money. You might need to start doing yoga every day. What follows? Athlete give you all the excuses about what they can't do, why they can't do it, how they can't afford it, how they don't want to be doing this thing, or they come up with some other bullshit excuse that sounds really good, but it's not the real reason. It's like the good reason, but not the real reason. And athletes do this, entrepreneurs do this. Those are two that I'm gonna bring up because those are the two that I interact with the most. Entrepreneurs and athletes, you tell them all the things they need to do, all the sacred cows that they need to sacrifice to get to the next level that they claim they want to get to. And as soon as you tell them that they got to kill the cows, all of a sudden they got excuses. All of a sudden they don't want to go to the next level anymore. The question is, do you? Point number 3. Today's topic is taking the leap from good to great in life. And as I already told you, I told you what Gilbert Arenas said, that the difference between the all-star and the superstar, and just in case you don't follow sports, the all-stars, you got 24 of them. 12 all-stars from the Eastern Conference, 12 all-stars from the Western Conference. That's how it works in the NBA. Superstars, there's no cap on the number of superstars, but the superstars usually you can count on one hand. As of this recording, how many superstars do we have in the NBA? I guess we would have to count LeBron James as a superstar, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant was that 3. We got Giannis Antetokounmpo, aka the Greek Freak. That's number 4. We'll say James Harden. That's 5 superstars. Who else is a superstar in the NBA? Is there anybody else? Maybe, if you're listening to this, you may be a big fan of a couple other guys that you could possibly say are superstars. Maybe Joel Embiid of the Sixers. He's like a borderline superstar. Kyrie Irving is borderline. Anthony Davis is borderline superstar. Kawhi Leonard, maybe kind of borderline. Maybe you got 10 guys you could count as superstars in the NBA. Maybe 10. Damian Lillard, maybe kind of borderline superstar. Understand that, I mean, you can do math, right? 24 to 10. And it's not even 10. All right, a few of those are debatable. There's about 5 of them who everybody would say, yes, absolutely a superstar. The difference between those 5 guys and the 24 who are all-stars, and we're talking about all-stars, people. We're not talking about just a regular good player. We're talking about one of the top 24 players in the best basketball league in the whole world where 1 billion people play basketball. You're in the top 24. That's pretty fucking good. The top 5 of that 24 is a whole different level. That's the 10% difference. What's the difference between that 5 and the 24? It's the way that you see yourself. This is what Gilbert Arenas was explaining. He didn't explain it in as much detail as I do. Gilbert Arenas doesn't have the skill of explaining it I have. I mean, he was a damn good basketball player. He'll take the basketball, I'll take this. okay? How you see yourself must elevate. You can be good at what you do and not know it. Like, you ever had someone tell you, or you ever told someone else, or seen someone be referred to as they haven't realized their potential, they don't know how good they are? Any of you ever heard that phrase, used that phrase, seen that phrase tagged on somebody else? You're good, you don't even know how good you are. You don't even know how much potential you have. You don't even know how great you could possibly be. Now, it feels good when somebody says that, right? Because they're kind of trying to boost your confidence and let you know you could be even better than you are. But I want to let you know something. You cannot be great and be ignorant of the fact. You can't be great and not know it, is what I'm saying here. All right, if you're great, I'm talking about that 90 to 100 level. If you're that Kobe level, that Gilbert Arenas level, you want to be that James Harden, Steph Curry, you want to be on that level, all right, they all know that they're great. All right, it ain't no secret. All right, they don't need anybody to tell them that they're great. They know. All right, now the all-stars might be so good that they don't even realize how good they are, how much potential they have, and all that the soft and fuzzy shit that sounds good. To be a superstar, you got to know that you're good. All right, it can't be a secret to you. It ain't gonna be a secret to nobody else because you're out there performing. Now, you can't be a superstar unless you're performing. All right, it ain't no superstar potential. All right, you got to be performing to be a superstar. To be great, you have to believe it and you have to act on it. Like Gilbert Arenas said, when you decide who you're gonna be, the actions will follow. So you're like, okay, well, Dre, if I see myself as that, then what? What's the next step of what I do? When you really have decided, the actions will follow. Because when you decide you're a certain type of individual, you're going to take different actions than the type of individual that you were 5 minutes before. When Kobe Bryant decided, this is the type of player I'm going to be. I'm going to be the superstar. I don't care if Shaq's on my team. I'm still going to lead the team in scoring. I don't care if I came from high school to the NBA and nobody believes and people think I'm trying to be a copy of Michael Jordan or whatever people think about. I don't care what they think. I've decided that I'm going to go to the superstar level. When Kobe Bryant made that decision, then he started outworking everybody. Then he started showing up earlier than everybody. Then he started staying later. Then he became this guy with this intense, crazy work ethic that everyone was talking about. Man, this guy worked so hard. He didn't work hard, then become a superstar. He became a superstar in his mind first. Then he worked hard to make it real. Remember the principle, people. Be, do, have. You become it in your mind first. Then the actions will follow what you've decided in your mind. Then you get the results. So if you happen to be running into a wall right now that you're not taking the right actions for the results that you want, you just can't bring yourself to take the actions. Like, you know what you need to do, or at least you think you know what you need to do, but you're just not doing it. Let me tell you why you're not doing it. Is because that B part, you didn't do it right. It's not done. You have not completed that. You have not completed that section of the application. Therefore, you cannot move forward to step 2. You cannot pass go. You cannot collect $200 because you have not completed step 1. Until you complete step 1 of being, the doing will never work. It will never feel right. You won't be able to bring yourself to even do the doing simply because you didn't get the being part right. And many people spend their whole lives in the doing section, doing a whole lot of stuff that ain't working, that ain't producing results, simply because the being part was never done properly. This is an amazing episode right here, if I may say so myself. You need to let me know if you agree. How you see yourself must elevate. Jamie Foxx. Y'all know Jamie Foxx, comedian, actor. I remember Jamie Foxx from back, he was on his TV show called In Living Color back in the, was that the 80s? Maybe it was the 80s, early 90s. TV show called In Living Color. This was Jennifer Lopez was a dancer on this show. And this is before anybody knew her name was Jennifer Lopez. The Wayans brothers, it was put on by this guy named Keenan Ivory Wayans, but a lot of people got put on through this show called In Living Color. But that's where I had first heard of Jamie Foxx. But anyway, I bring up Jamie Foxx to tell you that I once heard Jamie say that he was having a conversation with Will Smith. Now, we all know Will Smith, right? Very famous and well-accomplished actor. I think we can agree that Will Smith is a superstar actor. I mean, I don't watch a lot of movies, but is Will Smith a superstar? Any of you who are movie watchers? If I'm wrong about that or right, somebody let me know. Tweet me at Dre All Day, or DM me, or hit me up somewhere. Let me know. Will Smith is a superstar actor, right? Because it'll throw my whole example in the trash can if he's not. Okay, so please confirm this because I'm not a big movie guy. But anyway, Jamie Foxx said that he ran into Will once. He was kind of having a conversation with Will, about his career and what he was doing and all this. And Will had at that time, and still even to this day, had a little bit higher status in the acting world than Jamie Foxx. Jamie's damn good, but Will had a higher status than him. And Jamie Foxx said, you know what he said Will Smith told him? Jamie said, Will Smith told me, Jamie, you need to decide if you want to be a good actor or you want to be a great actor. Do you want to settle for just being good? Because right now you're very good, Jamie. You could continue to be good. Now, Will didn't say all this. The only part he said was that one sentence that I gave you. But I'm interpreting more of the conversation. That Will asked him, well, not asked him, but told him, you could decide if you just want to be merely good because you're already there. All right, if you just want to be a good actor for the rest of your life, you've achieved it. Congratulations. All right, but if you want to be great, you got to make some different decisions. Decisions, ladies and gentlemen, what is that? Is that be, do, or have? That's B. Decisions, they happen in your mind. Now, the decision becomes real as soon as you start acting on it. He said you need to decide which one you want to be. And the very next role that Jamie Foxx played, just to give you a timeline on when this happened, he played a musician that went by the name of Ray Charles. The movie was called Ray. And Jamie Foxx won his first, and I believe still to this date, his only Oscar award for that role. And I believe, again, I'm not big on movies, I believe an Oscar award is like the biggest award you can get in acting, right? Is there any award bigger than an Oscar? He won that for that role in Ray. And he said he was inspired by the fact that Will Smith told him, you need to decide if you want to be good or great. Now, what happened with Jamie Foxx? Did Jamie Foxx put in extra hours of memorizing his script and extra hours of making sure he got into the right character of Ray Charles and extra hours of making sure he did everything he needed to do to fit that role perfectly? I'm 100% sure he did all of those things. But I want to tell you something. If you were to copy exactly what Jamie Foxx did, if you're an actor or a basketball player or an entrepreneur or a professional speaker or a podcaster, just because you copied every action Jamie Foxx took, you will not get the same result that he got because there was a step that came before it. I just told you what it is. Will Smith gave it to him. He said, you got to decide if you want to be good or great. Because Jamie Foxx could have done a good job with that Ray Charles role and everybody would have said, what a great movie, and everybody would have moved on. Jamie Foxx decided he wanted to be great. That decision changed his energy, it changed his confidence, then it changed his performance, then it changed his results. Process matters, people. It's the steps in which you take the actions that matter. So all the stuff that you hear on through podcasts like this one, YouTube videos that you watch, books that you read, blog posts that you consume, people are always telling you this is the thing to do. Do this, then do this, then do this. They're telling you all these different things that you can do. And if you take in enough information, you'll have such a long list, such a long to-do list that you'll be doing that stuff forever. You'll always be doing something different. And they all may sound good, and some of them may even produce results for you in the short term. I want you to understand, if you want to create long-term results that last and you want to get to that great level, take yourself from that 90% up to that 100%, you got to take a step backwards from the doing, step backwards from your to-do list, and you got to decide that you want to be great. Until you make the decision that you want to be great, none of your actions is going to produce the result that you're looking for. Now, you can take my word for it, and I say this often, you can take my word for it, you can learn on your own. All right, don't take anything that I say as the gospel. All right, you can go apply it yourself, apply the opposite of what I tell you, and when you're wrong, then you can come back, listen to this again, and then apply it the right way. Or you can just listen to me off the top, and then you can write me a testimonial at dreallday.com/testimonial. Let's recap today's topic, which is taking the leap from good to great. I was reading about the NBA playoffs when I thought of this topic, where the writer said, it is much easier to go from a terrible team to a good team than to go from a good team to a championship team. That last 10% is the hardest part. 0 to 90 is relatively easy compared to that last 10%. Today's points, number one, you can hard work your way to good. You can become very good if you work hard enough, but you cannot hard work your way to great. Great is a qualitative change. Going from nothing to something is a quantitative change. Practice more, you can get better. All right, it requires a different quality of work and a different quality of thinking, a whole different approach to be great. And I wrote an article that you need to read. Is at dreallday.com/insight that addresses this exact point. It's a different mental game approach. Point number two, some of your sacred cows, to go great, some of your sacred cows got to be sacrificed. Some of the things that you thought you would always do, that you would never give up, that you can't even see yourself not doing, or things that you could never see yourself doing, you'll need to either start doing them, stop doing them, modify or delete them in order to go to great. Some of your things some of your habits, some of your ideas, some people, some actions, they got to be deleted in order for you to get to where you got to get to. Go watch one of those food documentaries and watch it. Don't turn your head and watch one of those cows get their throat sliced and their head chopped off, and watch them kill one of those baby pigs. That's what you got to do to some of your ideas and habits in order for you to go to great. Are you willing to do that? Because if you're not willing to be ruthless with your sacred cows, you're going to be working on that farm for the rest of your life. Point number 3. How you see yourself must elevate. You can be good and not know it. You know, people say you haven't yet realized your potential, or she or he doesn't know how good they are, as they say. Listen, you cannot be great and not know it, all right? It ain't gonna be a secret when you're great. To be great, you gotta know it, believe it, and act on it, and everybody else is gonna see that. Gilbert Arenas, NBA All-Star, he was averaging 30 points a game in his prime. He said the difference between the guys who come off the bench on my team and the guys who are all-stars in this league is not a difference in skill. It is a difference in mental approach. It's a difference in confidence. When you decide who you're going to be, the actions will follow. Jamie Foxx, before the biggest role of his acting career, he ran into Will Smith. Will Smith said to Jamie, you need to decide if you want to be a good actor, because you already are a good one, so you can stay being good, or you can decide you want to be great. Jamie Foxx decided he wanted to be great. Then he went and played the best role of his career, won an Oscar award for it, which I believe, somebody can check me on that, is the best award you can get when you're in the acting business. Because he decided that he wanted to be great. It wasn't a matter of he worked harder, or he knew his script better, or he got better into the character than he had for any other role he had previously done. I'm sure he did all of those things. But I want you to understand, it is not the actions that made him great. It is a decision that led to the actions that made him great. See, if you just follow the actions, you'll be frustrated. You'll be banging your head against the wall saying, I did everything that this successful person did, yet I did not get the results. How is that possible? It is because you did not make the decision. You did not follow the proper order of operations. You become it first in your mind. Then you do the things, which include some uncomfortable things like sacrificing your sacred cows. Then you get the results. So you follow that process. You can be great at anything that you want to be great at if you're willing to invest in it. And let's talk about what's going on in the game group. In every section of the game group, personal development, business development, basketball skill development, and professional career development, to go from good to great, or go from nothing to something. Either one, you got to make an investment in yourself. And that investment, once you're in the game group, is going to be investment in time, strategy, and you're probably going to have to sacrifice some of your sacred cows. Some of the things you thought you would never do, you're going to have to do. Some of the things you thought you would always be doing, you might need to stop doing. You might need to delete, or you might have had the wrong idea completely from the beginning and just make a complete 180 degree change from what you were doing before. And in the game group forum, you can ask me questions. I'm giving you answers and providing you insight into this whole principle of being, doing, then having, whether that's in your business, your personal development, or your basketball skill or career. All of that, if you're not already in game group membership, is at dreallday.com/membership. If you are a member of the game group, join the forum, get in there. We add everybody manually. So if you're a member and you haven't been able to access the forum, which is at dreallday.com/forum, just send me an email or DM me. Let me know your email address that you signed up with. We'll make sure you have access to the forum. I want your questions. I want your challenges. I want you to tell me what's frustrating you. I want to hear all of it in the forum so I can address it. It will help you. It will help the other people around you. And it will lead to more content that I make in the future, because I'm not just going to give you the answer. Sometimes I'll make an article, I'll make a new podcast episode, maybe I'll make a video to address, maybe I'll make a complete product to address the challenges that you have, but I need to know what they are so I can help you. That's why you join the game group, right? Again, all the information on the game group, if you're not a member and you're listening to this, is at dreallday.com/membership. Work on your game. Dre all day.